Today's tech news moves fast, but understanding it shouldn't be hard. That's why Snarful Solutions Group brings you Connecting the Dots, where we break down what's happening in tech and why it matters to you. Now, let's dive in with your hosts.
Imagine a world where your neighbors would actually rather have a literal nuclear power plant built down the street than, a tech company's data center.
Right, yeah. Which is just wild to think about.
It really is. Like, for decades, tech companies were the ultimate good neighbors, right?
Yep.
They were quiet, they were wealthy, they brought all these jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But suddenly, the sheer physical footprint of our digital lives is, well, it's genuinely terrifying people. And we are going to get into exactly why that's happening in just a bit. Welcome to Connecting the Dots. I am Alex.
And I am Morgan.
And we are broadcasting live this morning from the Snarful Solutions Group in Sacramento, California. Today is Friday, May 15th, 2026.
Yes, it is.
And before we get to the massive reality check that's hitting the AI industry today, let's just do a quick vibe check to get your morning started.
Definitely. So looking at the window, it is shaping up to be a beautiful day right here in Sacramento. We're expecting a high of 91 degrees Fahrenheit today with just some light winds.
Yeah, nothing crazy, like 1 to 9 miles per hour.
Exactly. But, if you are traveling or maybe listening from outside of California, you might want to check the radar. The national map is, it's incredibly active this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we are tracking 304 total U.S. weather alerts right now, and 88 of those are over land.
Wow. So definitely keep an eye on the sky if you're in one of those alert zones.
For sure.
Now, let's take a look at the financial markets, which are actually bringing some universally sunny news for your 401k.
Oh, we love to hear that.
We really do. The Dow Jones finally did it on Thursday. It broke the 50,000 mark.
Incredible.
Right. Closed at a record 50,063.46, which is up like almost 0.5% for the day.
And, the broader market really felt that lift, too. The S&P 500 closed at 7,501.24. So that puts it up 1.88% just for the week.
That's a great week.
It is. Over in the crypto space, though, things cooled off just a little bit. Bitcoin dipped slightly, closing at 80,126.06.
Still, definitely a solid week to look at your portfolio. Although, if you're a Northern California sports fan, maybe just don't look at the box scores today.
Yeah, it was rough.
Very rough. Both the SF Giants and the Oakland A's suffered these pretty painful one-run losses yesterday. Giants fell to the Dodgers 2-5, and the A's dropped one at the Cardinals 4-5.
Yeah, ouch. And the Kings had the night off, so, no basketball redemption there either.
No, not at all.
Sometimes you just have to take the loss and move on to the weekend, right?
Very true. You just got to shake it off. Today's episode is brought to you by Strong Coffee, the premium instant coffee that tastes like a traditional brew but is packed with 15 grams of protein, MCTs, and adaptogens like ashwagandha. Get clean, sustained energy without the jitters. Use promo code SNARFUL for 20% off at strongcoffeecompany.com.
All right, so let's get into our tech article report, the Morning Star.
Let's do it.
The running theme today is something we are basically calling the reality check of the AI era. Because, for the last few years, the tech industry has been sprinting toward artificial intelligence on this promise of, infinite frictionless magic.
Right, like it's all just going to be easy and endless.
Exactly. But today, we are really looking at the massive sort of hidden bottlenecks of this whole boom.
Yeah.
The physical hardware limits are actually hitting your personal email account. Distribution bottlenecks are shattering these billion-dollar corporate partnerships. And the battle over legal control is just causing total chaos in the courtroom.
Well, let's unpack this, because our first story hits right at home for basically anyone who has ever tried to spin up a quick new email address.
Oh, absolutely.
For over 20 years, the golden rule of the internet was simple, right? You sign up for a new Google account and you get 15 gigabytes of free cloud storage.
Just hand it to you.
No questions asked. It was practically a digital birthright at this point. But that era of infinite free anonymous space is quietly closing.
Yeah, so a Reddit user named Sungasungu flagged something really interesting this week. They were trying to create a new Gmail account. And, Google only offered 5 gigabytes of free storage.
Wait, really? Just 5?
Just 5. It's a massive drop. To get the full 15 gigabytes that we are all used to, the prompt actually required them to link a verified personal phone number.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the tech journalists over at Android Authority followed up on this. Google confirmed they are indeed testing a restricted storage policy in select regions, and they specifically pointed to parts of India and Africa.
So I saw Google's official PR statement on this, and they're saying it's to encourage users to improve their account security and data recovery and to ensure storage is added only once per person.
Right, the official line.
But I have a really hard time buying that line. I mean, it feels like the local grocery store giving you free samples of cheese for a decade and then suddenly, demanding to scan your driver's license before they hand you a toothpick.
That is a great way to put it.
Right. Like, I don't think this is about security at all. I think this is entirely about the global memory crisis triggered by the AI boom.
I will push back on you just slightly. The bots are a genuine issue. There are these massive automated networks that spin up millions of burner Gmail accounts just to hoard free storage.
Oh, true. Yeah.
And requiring a phone number does instantly cut that off.
Yeah.
But to your broader point, you are absolutely right about the underlying motivation. The timing here is just not a coincidence.
No, definitely not.
Providing 15 gigabytes of free storage to billions of anonymous users physically costs an absolute fortune in server space. And right now, server space is like the most valuable real estate on Earth.
I think we really need to explain the mechanics of that for a second, because when people hear the word cloud, they think it's just, invisible air.
Right, just floating up there.
Exactly. But every single email attachment, every blurry photo you've ever backed up from your phone, it actually sits on a physical piece of hardware in a massive warehouse somewhere, right?
Correct. Specifically, they sit on these enterprise-grade solid-state drives, or SSDs, housed in massive server racks.
Okay.
And here's where the AI reality check comes in. Training these massive AI models doesn't just require processing power. The famous GPUs we always hear about.
Right, the chips.
Yeah, it requires staggering amounts of high bandwidth memory to feed data into those processors.
Mm-hmm.
So the entire global supply chain for raw memory components has pivoted violently toward fulfilling the AI sector because it's so profitable.
Oh, so they're just buying everything up.
Exactly. And that means the cost of basic physical storage hardware has just spiked.
So Google looks at their balance sheet, they look at the skyrocketing cost of these physical memory arrays, and they realize, well, we can no longer afford to subsidize this all-you-can-eat buffet of free storage for just random anonymous accounts.
Precisely. If you want that server space now, you have to trade something highly valuable in return, which is your verified identity, your phone number.
Wow.
It completely changes the privacy dynamic of the internet.
It really does. And think about the everyday impact of this for you. Like, you want to set up a generic email for your kid's Little League team, or you want a separate inbox for some side hustle you're testing out.
Right.
You used to be able to do that anonymously. Now you have to hand over your primary digital identifier. Basically, the free lunch is over because AI drove up the restaurant's rent.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And, that physical hardware constraint is really just the first bottleneck.
Yeah.
Because once you build the AI, you actually have to get it into people's hands.
Well, let's look closer, because that brings us to the distribution bottleneck. And it is actively fracturing one of the most highly anticipated corporate partnerships in modern tech history.
Yes.
We are talking about the incredibly rocky marriage between OpenAI and Apple.
And this story has major implications for the smartphone that is literally in your pocket right now.
Seriously.
According to Bloomberg, the relationship between OpenAI and Apple has deteriorated so rapidly that OpenAI has actually hired an outside law firm. Yeah, and they are actively weighing legal action, which could even include sending Apple a formal breach of contract notice.
That is insane. I mean, for some context here, it was just a couple of years ago that Apple announced this monumental deal to weave OpenAI's ChatGPT directly into the iPhone.
Right, it's a huge deal.
The promise was that it would turbocharge Siri and give users this magical, seamless visual intelligence. And OpenAI went into this deal expecting, prime placement in the Apple ecosystem. They thought it would convert millions of iPhone users into paying ChatGPT subscribers.
But the reality of Apple's ecosystem control is just incredibly ruthless. Bloomberg is reporting that OpenAI feels Apple deliberately buried the feature.
Buried it? How?
Well, if you want to use the advanced AI in your iPhone, Siri doesn't just intuitively hand the task over to ChatGPT in the background. As a user, you often have to explicitly invoke the name.
Oh, like a separate command?
Exactly. You have to literally say, Siri, ask ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It's clunky. It totally breaks the conversational flow. And because of that friction, the massive wave of subscription revenue that OpenAI banked on just never materialized.
I just have to ask, did OpenAI seriously think Apple was going to just hand over the keys to its kingdom?
Right.
Like, I am genuinely confused by OpenAI's naivety here. Apple is obsessed with owning the user experience. You look at their history. They have a graveyard of partners they used and then just iced out.
It is a very long graveyard, yeah.
I mean, remember Google Maps back in 2012? It was the default flagship feature on the original iPhone. It was ubiquitous.
Oh, yeah.
And then Apple just ripped it out at the OS level to force people onto Apple Maps, which, let's remember, was a total disaster when it launched.
Completely unusable at first.
Exactly. Or look at Steve Jobs killing Adobe Flash on mobile, or the brutal ongoing wars they wage against Spotify over App Store billing. Apple just does not share its users.
They really don't. But, put yourself in OpenAI's shoes for a second. They didn't really have a choice here.
Fair point.
Generative AI is incredibly expensive to run, as we just discussed with those server costs. To justify their multi-billion-dollar valuation, OpenAI needs massive mainstream consumer adoption. And you only get that kind of scale by being on the iPhone.
So they were kind of stuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They had to make a deal with the devil, so to speak. One unnamed OpenAI executive was actually quoted saying they were basically told to take a leap of faith with Apple.
A leap of faith with a company that charges a 30% toll just to exist in their app store. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And the friction goes both ways, right? Apple is reportedly fuming because OpenAI has started pushing into physical hardware now.
Right.
And they aren't just doing it quietly. They're doing it with Jony Ive, the legendary former design chief at Apple who literally designed the iPhone itself.
Huh?
OpenAI is actively poaching top Apple talent to build a competing device.
Which Apple obviously hates. Add to that Apple's deep concerns about OpenAI's data privacy standards, and, well, you have a perfect recipe for a corporate divorce. And if this deal completely implodes, the everyday impact on you is significant. If you bought a new iPhone expecting a revolutionary digital assistant that just flawlessly manages your life, you're going to be stuck with a highly fragmented, disjointed patchwork of AI models.
Yeah, a total mess.
Because Apple will likely just pivot to Google's Gemini or Anthropic's Claude and just continue playing them all against each other.
So we have the physical bottleneck of server hardware and the distribution bottleneck of the Apple ecosystem. But the third and probably most significant reality check hitting the AI era is the battle over legal control of the technology itself.
Yes.
And that is playing out right now in a massive courtroom drama between Elon Musk and OpenAI CEO Sam Altman.
We are finally in the closing arguments of this trial in Oakland, California. And the stakes really could not be higher.
Seriously.
To understand why this matters, you have to look at how OpenAI was originally structured. So back in 2015, Elon Musk co-founded OpenAI, not as a traditional business, but as a nonprofit research lab. The stated goal was to develop artificial intelligence safely for the benefit of humanity, without the pressure of quarterly corporate profits.
But then around 2019, because training these models became just insanely expensive, Sam Altman and the leadership team created a capped profit company tucked inside that nonprofit.
Exactly.
And that allowed them to take billions of dollars in investment from Microsoft. So now Musk is suing Altman and President Greg Brockman, claiming they broke a foundational charitable trust and illegally hijacked a nonprofit to create this massive money-making machine.
And this trial has been an absolute spectacle to watch.
Oh, I bet.
During the closing arguments, Musk's lead attorney, Stephen Mallow, was apparently just stumbling over his words. At one point, he accidentally mashed the defendants' names together and called Greg Brockman Greg Altman.
Oh, no. That is rough.
Yeah. But the real drama happened when Judge Yvonne Gonzalez-Rogers actually had the jury leave the courtroom.
Wait, she kicked the jury out?
She did, so she could scold Musk's legal team without them hearing.
Okay, this part is fascinating. Help explain the legal mechanics here. Because Mallow, the lawyer, tried to tell the jury that Elon Musk wasn't seeking any money for himself in this trial.
Right.
But the judge stepped in and pointed out that Musk's lawsuit explicitly demands billions of dollars in what's called disgorgement. What exactly does that mean?
So, disgorgement is a legal term for forcing someone to give up profits that they obtained illegally or unethically.
Okay.
Think of it like a bank robber being forced to return the stolen cash to the vault. Musk's legal argument is that OpenAI made billions improperly by violating their nonprofit charter.
I see.
So he is demanding disgorgement, meaning he wants all those billions stripped from the for-profit side of OpenAI and returned to the nonprofit side to fund safe research.
So when Musk's lawyer told the jury, we aren't asking for money, the judge basically said, you are literally asking for billions of dollars in disgorgement. You cannot mislead the jury like that.
Exactly.
She actually forced him to retract the statement in front of the jury. It was just a massive, unforced error.
Totally. Meanwhile, OpenAI's lawyer, Sarah Eddy, was systematically dismantling Musk's narrative.
Yeah, she went hard.
She really did. She hammered home the point that there is no actual signed contract proving this charitable trust ever even existed. It's all just inferred from old emails.
Right.
But she also attacked Musk's motives directly. She highlighted that every single witness contradicted Musk's testimony, and she noted that, quote, even the mother of his children couldn't back his story.
Ouch. That is a brutal thing to put on the court record.
Very brutal.
But it really gets to the core of my issue with this whole lawsuit. OpenAI's lawyer argued that Musk's real goal was total control. She pointed out he had even discussed his children inheriting control of OpenAI one day.
Wow.
Her exact quote was he wanted dominion over AGI.
And we should probably define AGI for context here. Artificial General Intelligence.
Yes, very important.
This is the theoretical point where an AI system becomes as smart or smarter than a human across almost all economically valuable tasks. It's basically the holy grail of tech right now. And legally, it is the tripwire for OpenAI. According to their charter, the moment they achieve AGI, all their commercial licenses, including that massive deal with Microsoft, become void. The technology is supposed to return to the nonprofit to be shared safely.
Which is exactly why I look at this trial and just see billionaire FOMO, fear of missing out.
You think so?
I do. Musk walked away from OpenAI years ago. Now, OpenAI is preparing for an initial public offering that is expected to be one of the largest in financial history, and Musk's own AI company is scrambling to catch up.
True.
So to me, this lawsuit feels a lot less about saving humanity from rogue AI and more about a billionaire using the legal system to throw a wrench into the gears of his biggest competitor right before they cash in.
Well, I think you have to look at the other side of that coin, though. Yes, the timing looks like sour grapes. But Musk has been publicly warning about the existential dangers of AGI for over a decade, long before ChatGPT even existed.
That is true. He has been vocal.
If you truly believe that a piece of software could wipe out humanity if it isn't carefully controlled, watching a nonprofit research lab morph into a ruthless, profit-driven enterprise would be genuinely terrifying. His safety concerns might actually be authentic, even if his legal strategy is, a bit messy.
That's a fair point. The public certainly seems exhausted by the motives on both sides, though. Outside the courthouse, there were crowds of protesters. Some were holding signs that read, "Stop replacing healthcare workers with chat boxes." Other signs read, "No future for workers in Musk-Altman fascist world." And just to be clear, we are absolutely not taking any sides here or endorsing these viewpoints.
Right.
We are just reporting what was happening on the ground outside the trial. But it really highlights the profound anxiety people have right now. As one activist put it, they feel both billionaires are entirely hypocritical and are developing this technology purely for greed, not for the betterment of humanity.
And that anxiety is exactly why you should be paying attention to this trial, even if it just feels like abstract corporate bickering. Because the outcome of this case dictates who holds the legal keys to the most transformative technology of our generation. If Musk wins, he could force structural changes, oust Sam Altman, and entirely derail OpenAI's IPO.
Yep.
Whoever controls this company will dictate the AI that writes code, drafts legal documents, and reshapes your specific industry over the next decade.
It perfectly illustrates our theme today. The AI industry promises magic, but they are slamming into reality. Google is hitting the physical constraint of server hardware. Apple and OpenAI are hitting the distribution constraint of corporate walled gardens. And Elon and Sam are hitting the legal constraint of who actually owns the future of AGI.
Before we wrap up, a quick thanks to Old Glory, an iconic music and sports fan merch store. Perfect for the techie in your life. Use promo code SNARFL for 15% off at oldglory.com.
So to tie all of these reality checks together, we need to circle back to that physical bottleneck we started with.
Yes, the hardware.
Because there is a brand new Gallup poll that just dropped, and it highlights a massive roadblock that all of these tech giants, Google, Apple, OpenAI, Musk, they're all going to crash into it very soon.
This brings us back to the thought we opened the show with. The poll found that 71% of Americans now oppose building AI data centers in their local communities.
71%, that is huge.
It is. Almost half of those surveyed actually said they are strongly opposed.
Well, when you look at the mechanics of what these facilities require, you really understand the resistance. These data centers are no longer just, quiet warehouses with a few blinking servers.
No, I don't like.
They are industrial-scale operations. They require staggering, almost incomprehensible amounts of electricity, and they require millions of gallons of local water just to keep the advanced GPUs from literally melting down.
Right. People are looking at this and worrying about localized pollution.
Yeah.
They're worried about the environmental degradation. But most immediately, they're worried about their own utility bills spiking just because the power grid is being strained to support a tech company servers.
The poll noted a genuinely shocking statistic. More Americans today would welcome a nuclear power plant in their backyard than an AI data center.
Wow.
Yeah. If you lived through the anti-nuclear movements of the 1980s, you know what a monumental shift in public opinion that represents.
It is the ultimate digital not in my backyard scenario. And that is the provocative thought we want to leave you with to mull over this weekend. The entire economic logic of the AI industry assumes they will just have limitless power, limitless water, and limitless space to build these supercomputers. But the math is no longer working for local communities.
It's just not. You can have the smartest engineers in the world, but you cannot write an algorithm that generates physical electricity or, creates fresh water.
Exactly. We all want our seamless, hyper-intelligent digital assistants. We all want our unlimited free 15 gigabytes of cloud storage back.
Yeah, of course we do.
But if 7 out of 10 people refuse to allow the physical infrastructure to be built in their towns, how long is it until this entire AI boom hits a very real physical brick wall?
I think we are about to find out. We're here to help at Snarful, so reach out on our website if you have any more questions.
That's a wrap on today's top stories. Remember, tech doesn't have to be complicated, and we're here to help connect the dots. If you've got questions or want to learn more, visit us at snarful.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.